weird. Yes, you did. Made it weird.
What's happening, weirdos? This is the return of Gary Gulman, his third time on the show, and by far it's my favorite appearance of his. He is one of the best stand-up comedians to ever do it. He's also one of the best writers in the world, and he's written an incredible book called Misfit, which is available now. I'm currently reading it. It is heartfelt, it is insightful, and it is deeply, deeply funny. It's as funny as his stand-up, which is an incredible achievement. So reading it is kind of like having a personal Gary Gulman stand-up show in your living room. So check it out. It's incredible, honestly. Misfit by Gary Gulman. I have a couple things to plug up top, too. Let's see. I'm going to be at Largo in Los Angeles this month on Saturday, October 14th. Go to largo-la.com for tickets to that. I'm also going to be in Salt Lake City. After that, Bloomington, Indiana. Those will all be on peteholmes.com. Hope to see people out. Thanks to everybody who came out in Raleigh. Raleigh? Am I saying that correctly? Raleigh. So tour dates are all at peteholmes.com. And you guys know I only do ads for products that I actually use and actually love. And I actually was just writing, a lot of actuallys. Actually, I was just writing and I was rocking my latest Pete's pick, Run, Don't Walk to this one. This episode is brought to us by our friends at Brain FM. So I was sitting down to write, to work. And how am I going to cue my brain that it's time to sink in, to settle in and get in that flow state? Well, turns out music is a huge, huge part of that. And Brain FM has been how I get that into my daily creative routine for years now. And I'm so happy to be partnering with them. Every morning I sit at that computer behind me, I throw on these headphones, hit focus on Brain FM on the app. I hit focus, I hit creative flow, lo-fi is my favorite genre, and boom, I'm in the pocket and ready to work, create, and focus. Without this specially designed, lyricless, flow state, scientifically dialed in music, I find it so much harder to complete tasks. I procrastinate. I have a hard time meeting deadlines. But with Brain FM, I'm signaling to my brain literally that it is time to get things done, and it works. What is it? On the surface, Brain FM seems like an app that gives you the perfect background music for creative work, study, reading, meditation, relaxation, and sleep. And that's true. But under the surface, it is so much more than that. Brain FM's composers work hard to create amazing sounding music that doesn't distract and uses their patented audio technology to boost your mental states on demand. Audio signals get your brain dialed in. It's incredible. So give it a try. It's a huge part of my routine, has been for years. Great way to support your brain and support the show. Go to brain.fm/weird to get 30% off 1 year of Brain FM and start getting more done with less effort and unlock your best self on demand. Experience the difference that the right music can make in your life. Brain.fm/weird. Support the show, support your noodle. Also, I, for years, decades, never washed my hair. Hate shampoo. I hate looking like a bale of hay that just got out of the dryer, crispy, hard to control, horrible looking hair. So I just didn't wash it until Kat, my hairdresser, she was like, Pete, this is disgusting. You need to wash your hair. Yuck. I was with her. I know, I just didn't know a better way. Thankfully, Modern Mammals has come to the rescue. It's the only shampoo that's like a non-shampoo that somehow cleans your hair, so the comb goes right through it, super clean, but leaves it perfect. It's not gonna frizzle it. It's not gonna fry it. You're not gonna have to wear a hat for 3 days or hope no one takes your picture. You get a perfect hair day on demand. It has structure, it still has some of its natural moisture, it doesn't dry it out, and it stays in place and looks incredible, giving your hair that wave, that flow that I am looking for. After a wash, it looks like how my hair used to look if I wash it with regular shampoo and waited 4 or 5 days. But now I can have a perfect hair day just whenever I want, on command. So over 40,000 guys have switched to this instead of traditional shampoo. You got to see the reviews for this product. They're insane. Guys don't get this excited about anything, but literally it's blowing people's minds, including mine. And once you use it, you are hooked for life. I'm hooked for life. I'm never going back. I travel with it. I love it. It's in every bathroom. You can't go back to regular shampoo after this. And it's a small punk rock company that I love. They're grassroots. These were just guys that were fed up with shampoo frying your hair and set out to actually create new products to wash your hair with, new shampoo alternatives specifically for guys. And they have bars if you want the no plastic, no fragrance feel or bottles. It's like a magic gray mud that I love the feeling and the smell of that gets your hair perfect every single time. 6 seconds away to perfect hair. No joke. I love it. I use it. modernmammals.com/weird, where weirdos can get a special combo deal and try both products, the bar and the bottle, for $44. The bar, by the way, lasts a really, really long time. So this is a good deal. modernmammals.com/weird. Support your hair. Support this show. All right, everybody, let's get into Gary Goldman. He's incredible. Get into it. It's like 1997.
Wow.
I go to the Comedy Connection, not there anymore, Faneuil Hall, run by a scary man named Joey.
Yeah.
Who it's scary to me. I was a sweetheart.
Right.
I didn't know what club guy, and he was sometimes nice, but that's what made it kind of oddly familiar. Was
Yeah,
sometimes
of
he was
course,
very sweet, and sometimes it'd be like kind of gruff.
Yeah.
Because I called too much.
Sure.
I did.
Yeah, but
I
he was
called too much.
But he was. I was the same.
spots.
I was the same way, but I was a little bit further along in my.
You were a lot further along.
Yeah.
I had yet to do it.
Oh wow!
And I was going to a comedy
But you were
club.
calling, even though you had not done it.
I was doing the open mic probably
Okay.
after I saw you, though.
Okay.
Because for real, like, I know you believe this. Why would I make this? This is your third time on the show. I bet this is the third time I've told you this on the air. But Billy Burr was on the show. Murdered.
Sure.
But I didn't. The punchline of the story I'm sort of ruining. I wasn't like I can do it watching Bill. Not talent-wise, but
Yeah.
just like when I saw you, I was like, oh, like you can come up with that.
You don't have to be that
perspective.
hard.
Yeah, you don't have to be
Yeah.
hard. Because,
Yeah.
dude, growing up in Boston,
Yeah.
I thought comedy was like, and this guy's over here, he's
Yeah,
holding
yeah,
a
yeah,
dildo,
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
and it's
yeah, yeah.
flopping, and it's jizzing,
Yeah.
Jay. It's jizzing, and I'm slipping in it. Then the chairman of the board walks in. He's got a mustache. I know it's fake because he got it down in Austin. And I'm just like, that's what comedy was, screaming at the Thanksgiving table.
Yeah.
And like Lenny Clack. I'm not putting Lenny Clack down. I'm just saying that is what comedy was from what I could tell. If I wanted to make my dad laugh, I had to be like Lenny Clark. And I didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And then I saw you.
That's interesting. There was also this vibe, and I think it was a remnant of the what do you call it? The influence of guys like Barry Crimmins, Bobcat, Stephen Wright, and the what is called the Ding Ho crew, which was this Chinese food
Ding Ho
restaurant
crew.
that and Jimmy Tingle that sort of like with the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. Theirs was first be original. Don't sound like any of these guys. And so that was good to know. And also the fact that everybody sounded like you just described so perfectly, it was easy to be different.
Yeah.
So all I had to do was, well, I don't have anything about being arrested for drunk driving.
Right.
I don't have anything
That's it.
about hating my wife and using a voice that makes her sound like a lunatic. So I can...
Dude, you're helping.
I can stand out.
Yes.
Yeah,
Look, I'm not
and that was important, and it would allow you to get more work than the person who was just doing an impression of somebody who was doing an impression of somebody from the previous generation. I mean, you see that in New York a lot. There are a handful of templates.
The Attell
Attell or Patrice, right?
The Patrice gaggle?
Where they use a lot of the similar mannerisms and cadence, and it's just Chris Gethard pointed out. He said they're a photocopy of a photocopy of these people.
And you ever been at the table at the cellar and you're like, there's only two guys here. But look, let's smell our own farts. Let's enjoy it. It was a handicap. It was. I don't know if you can say that. I'm not trying to be cute. I'm saying it set you back initially. Initially, if you were me, Nate Bargatze, you, I'm not saying, I can be dirty and stuff. It's not just that. It was like going for this sort of other way.
Yeah.
And that was sort of strange.
It was difficult because the audiences were conditioned to enjoy that speed and that loudness and those takes. I still find it if I'm performing at the Comedy Cellar, it often feels like a road room. They're not there to see me, so I'm going on there, and they're assuming that everything I say is sarcastic and cynical, and so it's just very frustrating.
Yes.
So I'll
Yes.
a lot of my takes are, well, I love this thing.
You're being earnest.
And I'm being earnest, and they laugh because they think I'm being sarcastic.
You're
And-
about
and-
to say in one way or another, what are you gay? Is you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
I don't like
Totally.
saying that. I'm just saying
but
that's what they're waiting
That was my
for.
high school motto.
What are you gay?
Yeah, our high school yearbook, the motto was, and it sounds much nicer in Latin, but the motto was, "What are you, gay?"
That. First of all, part of me believes you. Of course you're joking, but
I'm
part
joking.
of me thinks that a very persuasive yearbook committee, Mr. Capezza, come on! It's for us!
It's our catchphrase.
It's our catchphrase.
You
It's-
wouldn't ask Arnold not to say what you talking about, Willis. Don't ask us not to say what are you gay.
Okay, I'm going to give you real life example. RLE.
Okay.
It worked. I wasn't
Boy,
sure.
do we love a good acronym.
BDWLAGA. Boy, do we love a good acronym. I'm a little foggy because I was just on the road, but here's the example.
Okay.
I come out. It's a standard thing I do. I'm doing the helium, and all the helium rooms are the same. Very well built.
Yep.
But the front row is really close.
Yes.
So I usually open.
And they're always snacking on hard pretzels, it seems like. Or the equipment.
You're my only friend. You're my only
really?
friend. I'm the only one that goes, is popcorn the treat for the movies? Should we be giving these
Yeah.
big bags of feed?
Yeah.
Just dry sheep feed? And did you turn a knob like hamster food for that shit? Just eating dry and I just saw it because I was on the road. I saw the Equalizer 3 kid. I saw it alone. I actually loved it. I thought it was great.
It's a great
Franchise.
trilogy.
Let's hope it's not a trilogy because they better
Right,
make
right,
Antoine make a fourth, baby. Denzi's still got it. Denzi's still got it. Denzi's
I
still
love
got
my
it.
that would be a person who works at the sub shop. I love my Denzi.
I love Denzi.
You know I love my
it's
Denzi.
like saying my stories.
Yeah.
I love my stories. I
Yeah.
love my martini. They have
Yeah.
one martini
Yeah,
a day. And I love my Denzis. You know Denzis can do no wrong with me.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway,
Denzi and Aerosmith.
dude, you know I'm so kind of like PTSD'd from growing up in Boston that I sort of am dismissive of Aerosmith just on principle.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
You immediately understand.
No, because I ignored most of the glam metal scene. I ignored Rush because they were so popular. And Rush isn't glam metal, but they were
Yeah.
in that era. I ignored them because they were so popular with kids who teased and bullied me.
Yes.
So I said, well, I'm not embracing
There's
their shit, and I missed out. But now I'm really enjoying it.
No, you got to circle back.
Yeah.
It's like religion. You have to go back and
It's
go
so
like,
true.
was there
Yeah.
something there?
Yes.
Or was it just grown-ups with halitosis telling me I'm going to hell?
No,
halitosis?
it's absolutely right. It was the messenger
Yeah.
who was fucking it up for
That's right.
us.
And Aerosmith's good.
Aerosmith is excellent, but they have a lot of baggage because of what you're saying.
I'm going to tell you something. You pointed out Ram Dass on your way in.
Yeah.
I'm on Maui, like on Long Island.
Yeah.
I'm on Maui for the Ram Dass retreat. This is when he's alive.
Oh, wow.
And there's an auction where they're selling Ram Dass stuff to support his medical bills and stuff.
Oh wow.
So there's like a harmonium, and you know what that is? It's like
Yeah.
like an accordion, Indian kind of instrument.
Sure.
Anyway, we're just kind of perusing. It's the last day. Who walks in but Steven Tyler? He's just living on Maui. You know, they get the ring. I saw Rick Rubin at this thing too. So there are these like spiritual musician people that live.
That's a good book on creativity, the Rick Rubin book.
It is.
Yeah.
It frustrates me a little bit. You know why? Because it's so right. And it shines too bright of a light on how I'm not pure.
Oh, stop.
It does.
Nothing
He's like,
is pure.
Just do it for its own sake,
Nothing
man.
is
Get in there
pure.
because you like it.
You're-
and I'm
you're-
going like, I need a closer that everyone will like.
Oh my gosh. Nothing is pure. We went into this to express ourselves, but also because the hours are great. But it was more
The hours are great. Can
It was-
I tell you
it was
that
more
set?
to express ourselves.
The set that I saw you that changed my life. You, in the middle of your set, in the middle of your 10 minutes, you looked at your watch. Gary Gulman, in his early 30s, maybe late 20s,
Yeah, late 20s probably.
looks at his
27
watch
maybe.
and says, has the gall, I say to camera one, the gall. I was enamored. You went, I'm halfway through my workday right now.
Oh my
You
God!
said that,
That's
and
obnoxious.
a young me went, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Like somebody put Mentos in the Diet
Wow.
Coke that was me, and I was like, woo boy!
Wow, I don't remember saying that.
Yeah.
But it's a kind of cool thing for a 20-something to say. Now I'd be embarrassed, but
No,
Yeah.
it was fucking incredible. Okay, so
Wow.
where are we? Steven Tyler was there.
Yeah.
He sang. Someone was playing the harmonium and he sang. I'm trying to get us back to where we were
Yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
but this is a free-flowing
It's a free
exchange
flow.
of ideas.
But let's stay on what we were saying, because that set, and watching Nate Bargatze too, dude. Like, I'm not saying we're all the same. I think people are missing the point if they go, those are clean comics.
No.
That's not
That's
the
not
point.
it.
Thank you. Right?
No.
I understand that you could load their material into a machine and it would go, I didn't see one fuck. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's
Yeah.
not it.
But that was also part of the idea. Everybody's saying fuck. They've already said fuck a million times. I'm not going to stand out by saying fuck
Yeah.
harder, louder,
Yeah.
or more frequently.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
But that really, the not swearing was just like an add-on to the overall goal of just being unique.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. But believe it or not, I watched Nate blowing up, and I'm fucking so, I'm not just saying this, you have to say that.
Right.
So happy for him.
Oh, sure.
And I'm like, I remember when we were at the Boston Comedy Club, and Nate would get, and so would I. Now it sounds like I'm complimenting myself, but I'm just saying, like, Nate would go up, and it would be sort of like uncomfortable. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
If anyone thinks I'm talking shit, Nate would tell you the same. He's just kind of
yeah.
like, and I'm up there and my phone's not working. I can see the satellite. Like something that gets an applause when you get enough
Oh,
of
yeah,
his
yeah,
fans
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Good,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
good comedy people
Yeah.
together. But at
Yeah.
like 1 a.m. on a Thursday
Oh, yeah.
at the Boston Comedy Club, Nate
Yeah.
Bargatze's going like, hey, what's going on with vampires? Or whatever he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was this. What's another way to say a handicap? It was a impediment.
Yeah.
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 I would have called you for that word.
But I think
Gary, I need a synonym for handicap.
But I think that comedy is this weird thing that I can't think of another instance where. Okay, so in baseball, you learn on a tee. They put the ball on the tee and you swing. And in your backyard, your father or mother throws it to you and is very careful. And you have a glove that fits your hand.
Yeah.
And then comedy, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And they put you in front of the most hostile, stingy, mean
Yeah,
people.
tired.
And
You're number
are
32.
at best are hoping a celebrity will show up. At worst are waiting for their best friend to go on, and then they're gonna tune out.
Yeah.
And you have to try and be yourself.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that takes the longest in comedy. You can kill for years before you're even
Yeah.
yourself for a moment.
I've been to most any place, but I've never been to me.
Wow.
Have you
I don't
heard
know that song, no.
That's some, I don't know what it's from.
It's really good.
But it's true. So you're supposed to go up and be, but the fucking craziest thing is that the advice, let me ask you this. Does that trauma, because let's name it, let's call it what
Okay.
it was.
Yeah.
Starting in comedy is lowercase t trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say, just to hear what you say, it was familiar to me. Going up in front of drunk, rowdy, unpredictable people
Wow.
felt a little like, you know, I'm at home with this. Like, you mean I have to turn around a bad family vacation in a Winnebago?
That's so
So,
interesting.
like, there was a compulsion to do it, to sort of rewrite the past,
Yeah.
to sort of use the skills I had gained in keeping the peace in my family, to like
Sure.
keep the peace like even with the club managers, even I mentioned Joey and all the people that ran the clubs. I was like, I can win
them
these
over,
very irregular, unpredictable people over by being like a, hey, chief, like call him chief.
Right. That's interesting. I think in a similar way. I
didn't mean no laugh. I meant you don't relate in a similar way.
No, I do relate in a similar way in that I didn't feel like I had a lifetime of experience in mastering hostility or chaos, but what I did have was this desire to be paid attention to.
Why?
And because I wouldn't say I was ignored growing up, but the pecking order in my home was anything that was on television, anyone that was calling on the phone to my mother, and then maybe me.
Yeah, I read that in the book.
And my father only showed up on Sundays, and he gave me his undivided attention, and there was nothing I could say or do that he wasn't mesmerized by. But it was a short amount of time, and also I was covering up this thing with my dad that I wasn't a good fighter like he was, and so I was being pushed around and teased in school, even though it turns out he had me repeat the first grade, which was a small T trauma, but definitely had an effect on my.
What was it?
On my.
Why? Why did he have you repeat it?
Well, and this is sad that I'm still telling everybody this at 53 years old.
Can
but
I say
I was
I've
in
heard
the top
smaller.
reading group.
Oh.
I was in the top reading group. Okay.
You get both mics.
I was in the top reading group.
And my father, for sports reasons, felt like I would have an advantage if I repeated the first grade. But
he tried to outlier you.
Yeah,
remember
he tried,
outliers?
Yes, totally. He tried to give me a January birthday and put me in the Canadian Hockey League.
If you've read Outliers,
oh my gosh,
just creamed.
Malcolm Gladwell is the greatest journalist in taking cockamamie theories and ideas and turning them into beautiful prose. None of his ideas holds up scientifically, including the thing where he says stand-up comedy is really easy and he could do it tomorrow.
He said that?
Yes. And that's why I'm going in on him. But
I had him on the show. Had I known.
Oh, yeah. He has no respect for stand-up comedy.
You footnote this comment. Where did he say it?
I forget where it was, but it outraged me. And
yeah.
But here's the thing. I couldn't take trends and ideas and make them so readable, like he does.
Yeah, no, I'm still mad.
He's super talented, but I'm super mad about.
I didn't want you to put the Band-Aid on just yet. Keep cutting.
About him denigrating stand-up comedy. How dare you?
I'll say it, Malcolm. I love you, but just because we get laughs at 90 Second Why doing a Q&A, it's not the same.
No.
Come with me to fucking. The Stress Factory.
Yeah, go up at the Fat Black Pussycat.
Yes.
On a Sade late show
After Chappelle.
Oh my God! Yeah, after Chappelle held the wait staff hostage for 3.5 hours
and asked them their favorite breakfast cereals.
Yeah,
yes.
and a hostage negotiator comes in and says, "Let the manager and the wait staff go."
Chappelle doesn't get the light. He gets a bullhorn from the FBI. Dave, you do not have to leave, but these people have children and babysitters. Yes, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's
the
funny.
2-3 train runs express from here to the Bronx unless you let them go now.
Can I tell you, and all respect to Chappelle, he used to come in and do a very, very long set, and I used to say to the manager at the Boston, because I was hosting,
oh wow,
just when he let him leave the stage, like. I don't need to go back up and go, Dave Chappelle, everybody.
I know, like he needs that.
I would be waiting. You know, obviously most of the time I watched and loved it, but 15th time, you're like, the F, I used to take the F train home.
Oh my word.
Turns into the fucking D. And this isn't a time where old Petey's going, well, I'll just take a cab. Are you fucking nuts?
That's the whole
thing. Are you
thing.
nuts? So
that
we're now getting home at 3.
Thing.
Yeah.
That I remember being so broke in New York City that if you went in on the wrong side of a subway, you would think, oh, I can't afford the maybe it was $1.75 at the time to change sides of the train and go in again. I'm going to have to negotiate with the person working in that box who made Oscar the Grouch seem
Yes,
kind and
jovial.
loving.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my word.
Yes.
I don't know why Oscar the Grouch was my go-to. I've become Muppet obsessed lately.
Can I say? What's more New York? Like,
Yeah.
that's who it is.
Yeah.
The Count. Can I
Yeah.
say, you brought up baseball. I'm not trying to be offensive. I have family members on the spectrum. I feel like I might be a little on the spectrum. Is everyone who plays and watches baseball on the spectrum? It's just a question. It's just a question. There's so
Wow.
much superstition, and like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there's secret shakes,
Yeah,
and there's
but
stats,
also the
and there's
fans
like the man,
and the
that's what I
obsession with
mean.
the stats and the
people in my family
they
that are
love
into
averages.
it. Yes, and they're
Yeah.
each one of them is
Yeah.
the phantom manager of the team, and they'll tell you like, well, he hasn't batted third since. And I'm like, this is for the
This
superpower.
is a phenomenal idea that our buddy Malcolm Gladwell would
be all over it.
would turn into a
Let's
a
take-
Kindle short.
I'm still taking Malcolm on the
But-
road.
but
I'm
if- I
still.
don't know if you've
I
noticed-
want him to succeed. You understand? I want
No,
him to
no,
do
no, I
well,
know.
but there's.
Okay, so when I was a kid, there was batting average, number of home runs, and RBI.
Yeah.
And you would memorize all three, and you knew everything there was to know about baseball. And so it became a thing. I'm adding to your theory. It became a
Yeah.
thing where people obsessed with the averages and numbers were really into it and attracted more and more people
Yes.
on the spectrum.
Yes.
With the math.
Look, if you hand out a book that you can fill,
Yes.
you're printing out an Excel spreadsheet. This is a recreation. So the beer swilling guys and the hot
Yes.
dog boys are hitting the bricks because this guy's willing to pay a
Yes.
little bit more for the ticket, and he's like filling out a scorecard.
And
And he's got a
now-
radio because he wants to. Come on.
And
come
now
on.
there are, I'm not exaggerating, 16 different categories that have numbers in them. And this is on the scoreboard while the guy is going through his 90 different obsessive compulsive moves with his batting gloves and his cap, right? And then, yes, and this one is called number of pitches per at bat. Can you imagine wanting to count how
Number-
many balls? If that isn't an opportunity for a Dustin Hoffman impression in Rain Man,
Yes.
my word.
Well, this is where it came from. First of all, I just rewatched Rain Man. I had never watched it.
it still holds up,
It's great.
doesn't it? Yeah.
'Cause it was
Barry
R.
Levinson is something.
Is that the director?
Yeah.
It was R. And so my mom used to cover my face. Remember when he walks in on them having sex? My mom would
Oh,
cover my face and
yes.
kick me out
Oh,
because they're
wow.
swearing and stuff. I watched that movie and I relate hard to that movie. I love that. It's
Yeah.
great.
No, it's fantastic.
It's also, can I give that movie the ultimate compliment? I'm watching it for the first time. I said I rewatch it. Really, I meant for the first time.
okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to happen. When does that happen?
Oh, that's interesting.
When you're like, because you're
Yeah.
like, is he going to give him
Yeah.
possession or not? And you're sitting
Yeah.
there going like, I don't know that is the ultimate compliment.
Yeah.
If I stop you in the middle of a story and go, Gary, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what I want to happen.
Yeah.
You've done a great job building a world.
For a 90s movie to have that
90s
kind of
subtlety.
depth,
Yes.
to have ambivalence, perhaps multivalence.
I'll even say meltivalence. But dude, that movie was addressing, again, family members on the spectrum. That there was a time we used to call them idiot savants. I'm not trying to be funny.
Sure.
It
Oh,
was
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
a cruel
Yeah.
and fucking weird time. And it took
And
movies
then
like
savant.
Savant.
He's a savant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
That's like idiot understood though.
Yeah,
isn't
yeah. Savant.
it? Savant. Savant. We know what you're saying, but Savant is now a good thing. But like, that's why I feel okay in the baseball riff, because these people that are doing that are genius.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm watching it. It was on a TV somewhere where Val and I were eating, and they were showing like the 4 pitches that had been thrown and the speed of them and where they went. And I was like,
yeah.
this is just for Vulcans.
Totally.
Like if Vulcans were real, they'd be like, take me to your baseball stadium.
Yeah.
Like they would fucking love it.
Totally.
Yeah.
There are people who are baseball fans who have never picked up a glove or a
No interest.
bat, have no interest in playing it.
It's just looking at the
They
inside of a
just-
clock.
Yeah, they just they
It's either baseball or the inside of a clock, but I'm going to stare at one of them because I need something to
I
put
love
all
that.
of this power
That's such a
onto.
beautiful image, the inside of a clock.
Is there anything better?
Yeah.
Can you believe we made clocks? How badly do you want to know that it's noon?
Isn't it incredible?
You're gonna get tiny gears and springs.
I keep reminding myself.
The sun's right there. This guy's gotta know it's noon. Sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't done with the riff.
But I keep reminding myself on the clock idea, and there are a million things like this.
Yeah.
That if suddenly everybody lost the recipe for a clock,
Yeah.
there is no way I would be able to contribute to it. I would say, well, there are a lot of these round things with sort of teeth, but they're not teeth. But they were called teeth, and I forgot that there were springs.
Springs.
But there were springs,
Can
and
I
I
ask you
don't know
something?
how you get from that collection of items to it's 12:05.
Buddy. And if you look at it, you're like, I would expect more. If I didn't know what the inside of a clock was, and you showed me the inside of a pocket watch, just that, you're picturing
Yeah.
it perfectly.
Oh, yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
like, well, this keeps a man who doesn't have a heart alive. And they're like, no, it tells him when it's time
Yeah.
to eat lunch.
Yeah, that's all it does.
That's all it does.
And it is miraculous.
And it took a man or a woman, the guy who takes a stand at the wrong times. They're like, that's not being an ally.
No,
it
no.
could have been a woman. Fucking, that's not what we asked for.
Gotcha, Pete. Gotcha. Oh, it had to be a man because it had teeth.
There is something particularly masculine about clockmaking. Is it because it sounds like cockmaking? I don't know.
No, it's because that guy Cornelius,
Cornelius?
I think his name was on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in the Land of Make Believe. Didn't he? No, Daniel the Tiger lived in a clock.
No.
Cornelius built something.
Daniel Tiger lived in a clock, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's a harbinger of death. Daniel Tiger kills us in the end.
No, I didn't realize.
Yeah, you didn't know because he's in the clock.
He's like
So when
Father-
your time is up,
Father
it's
Time. Oh, he was so
it's Fred
sweet.
Rogers with a very clearly just Fred Rogers voice going like,
Oh, he was so
goodbye.
sweet.
And you go, this isn't so bad.
One of my proudest moments was being able to use a quote from Mr. Rogers as the epigraph to the book, and I'm pretty sure it's epigraph and not epigram, but that little quote you get to put at the book,
Like a
It's
closing
it's
quote?
The opening. The epigraph is
Oh,
usually the
opening.
opening, and it's just you write this whole book, and then you get to kind of cheat by putting a quote at the
Oh, yeah.
beginning, and as long as you footnote, nobody complains.
Buddy, when you go from stand-up to book, as you just have, the fact that like academia, for example, is just stealing. I'm not even saying this is a bad thing. You're just building on other
Oh, yeah,
people's.
yeah.
Took them 17 years to find out that fruit flies go like this, and they go like this. But did you know that a bird will? And you quote him, and
Yeah,
you build
yeah,
on that,
yeah.
and
Right.
nobody cares about ripping
Yeah.
off. Because I wrote a semi-spiritual book. Nobody cares if you go like, well, this guy says this.
That's a great book, but it's also a great memoir. In that
spiritual memoir.
I loved to see your particular odd relationship with your odd mother, the way that
Yeah.
I had. We were companions to our moms
Yeah.
in different ways. We were the
Golden Boys?
Yeah, the golden boys of single mothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I just had a moment with my mom talking about that. I had a little dust up with my dad. And then I called my mom, and it reactivates that relationship. I was hoping in an appropriate way, but I needed my mom to be
Yeah.
like, it's okay. And I talked to her, and she's like, it's okay. I heard about you and your dad. I'm like, oh. It's like time travel.
Wow, yeah.
And then I said to her, because I have given my mom a lot of grief on this podcast and to her, and just kind of
Sure,
teased her.
same here.
Been like, Mom, we should see other people, like stuff like that. But in that relationship, it was very tender, and I was like, Mom, I really think we just did what we needed to do. Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
can't.
that's really nice.
I can't blame you. I understand. I was there.
Yeah.
I was like a sweet. You know what story? I'm gonna load this to you. Then I want you to talk all about it.
No.
But my mom always tells this story that I was like 8 years old,
Uh-huh.
and she says she comes home. I come home from school. She goes, "How was your day?" And she's told the story a million times. And I go, "It was good. How was your day?" And I just sit there and I look at it, and like that's exactly what my
Yeah.
mom. So maybe this is me softening because I'm a parent now, but I'm like, can you blame her if it did
Right.
get a little too whatever codependent or intertwined or whatever? What do you got?
Well, I think that it's very interesting to see how my mom has dealt with me writing about her in the book. So I'm very lucky in that my wife is a really good interpreter of my mom's actions and witnesses things and is really insightful.
Val's like that too.
Yeah.
Rosetta Stone. She's like,
Yeah.
could it be this?
Yes. So my wife has witnessed things, and she's given me a lot of insight into my mother, and she loves my mother, but she recognizes her weaknesses, and they are countless. But
And they are legion.
Yeah. But so the book comes out, and I bring it over to her, and all along the way, and my wife's my mother-in-law is problematic in her own way, but with regards to the book, when I told her I had finished the book and showed her the book, she said, "Oh, she's a black woman," so she says, "We are blessed," and I thought this is the
I just wanted to try it.
Yeah, this is the nicest thing that a mother could say, and I
Wait,
know
in regards to the book.
And in regards to the book, and
What
I
does she
know
mean
my
by that?
mother, like just
The work has blessed us. We're
just
blessed with you.
that I have this opportunity, and that I was able to express myself, and that there's a physical artifact of my ideas and my life, and she's a very religious woman, and I mean, Sade, by the way, is not especially religious, but grew up in the black church, and so has a lot of the ideas. And anyhow, I knew that was the best I was going to get from a mother figure, because I knew my mother's reaction to the book would be entirely different. And there's cultural things and there's age differences, but my mother. So we've got "We Are Blessed" from Miss Jeannie, and then we have Barbara Gulman at 90 years old, and not a reader and not a writer, and her immediate response to me handing the book was, "Who's the publisher?"
I'm dead. There's a certain, I call it bautism. There's a certain thing that only maybe other
I call
places.
it Jurettes.
Jurettes.
Yeah, where a Jewish person will say the absolute
I feel like that one's
worst.
not on my menu, but
Yeah. Where a Jewish
understand.
person will say the absolute worst, undermining, negative, cynical
your mom
things.
has
So my
Jurettes
mother has
and bautism.
Jurettes and bautism, and my words. So she says, "Who's the publisher?" Then she starts examining the book, clearly looking for
Typos?
her name.
Oh my God.
Her name or my
Scanning.
mother, scanning for her name and how she's represented. She goes to the back to check the blurbs, only reads the names of the blurbers, not what they said about the book.
I love in the intro where you go, there's a group of you that bought this just based on the blurbs. Hey, shame on you.
That you
so
like
good.
that?
I loved
whenever
it.
you try to be funny, it's
Shame on
always
you.
a fingers crossed. Oh, I hope this
I
lands,
loved it.
right? Thank you.
No, you're a fantastic writer. The book is.
Thank you.
We're out of time anyway. So Misfit is. No, I'm just kidding. It's such a weird feeling.
Have I ever played the game with you when I sit at the Comedy Cellar with a bunch of comedians at the comedians table?
Really, there's just two.
And somebody, right, but somebody will say something really funny, and then I'll turn to what I pretend is the camera and say, "We'll be right back."
One of the best. I don't know if we've done it.
Oh, it's
but
a lot of fun.
Kurt, blanking on his last name, but there's another comedian that I like doing that with.
Tall Jehovah's Witness?
No, TJW.
Kurt.
He married Clint Eastwood's daughter.
Oh, wow.
I met him at Dane Cook's 4th of July party. And when he did the podcast, we played out We'll Be Right Back. Let me bring it back to this, though, and maybe Katie can find it. He did the podcast, and I'm pretty sure his name is Kurt. I'm going to be embarrassed.
Okay.
I'm going to load this back to you.
But he was at a July 4th party at Dane Cook's house. That must have been young
What young?
people.
He was old.
Really?
He was older than me, still is.
Interesting.
he Gary's off the tour. Tourgasm.
Yeah.
Gary's off the tour. He disappeared. I don't know where he is. And I call you and you
gosh.
go, I had a college.
Yeah.
For those of you that watch Tourgasm, you're like, fun Easter egg.
Yeah.
But everyone else,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you a story
Okay.
because I want to put it back to your mom and everything that happened.
Okay.
To relate, I was on Family Feud, and this actually ties into how Val interprets my father and my mother for me. So I'm on Family Feud, celebrity family with my wife's family. I was like, did I say family? Yeah. There's a moment where I made Steve Harvey laugh really, really, really hard. It's like this big moment. I was very proud of it.
Of course.
We didn't win, but like I was like, but we won. I made Steve like fall down like Black Church. It was incredible.
That's incredible.
It was a really nice moment for
That
me.
ain't easy.
It wasn't easy,
To make another comedian laugh.
and it was real, and I
Yeah.
loved it, and it was wonderful. So I call
Are you going
home.
to tell what the joke was?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't remember the details exactly,
Okay.
but it was named something that you wouldn't expect a candle to smell like, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the woman said, I think she said, let's say she said green beans. The answer is
Good answer. Good answer.
The answer that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
The number one answer that they give her is like rotting fish.
Oy.
So
They are really scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I think it's because it's
Categories,
Celebrity
right?
Feud
Oh, I see.
that they're a little more
Okay.
lenient, maybe.
Yeah.
But I rightly go on a little tear going, so any food, you say any food, you get the number one answer. And then I go, what if you just go, do you get the answer? And that's what makes Steve collapse. You just go, number one answer, fresh,
Oh my
rotting
gosh.
fish.
That is fun.
So he dies. It's a great moment.
Yeah.
Call home that weekend after it aired, and my dad goes, and God love him. I'm not saying this with any bile. There's nothing nasty here. My dad's like, I saw Family Feud, yeah. And I'm like, it's a perfect impression. Saw you on TV blaring in the background. Anyone else with parents that don't mute the TV for the phone call?
My mother's television, Yep, she's watching TMZ right now.
Blaring.
Blaring.
When I'm on the phone with them in the car, I put it on the minimum volumes because it's just so hard. So I can only kind of hear their voice because the TV and
That's how I did my homework through high school with Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous blaring.
You're making me want to puke right now. No joke. That nauseates me.
Yeah.
So my dad goes, I saw you on Family Feud, Peter. And I'm like, yeah, well, that was fun. Like I have to say the things. That was fun, right? Yeah, that was good for the comment.
Yeah.
And he's like, that moment where you made the guy laugh, was that programmed?
Oh gosh. Wow.
And I go, and I know what he means, but I still want him to step it out. I go, programmed? Yeah, like, did you talk about it ahead of time?
Oh my gosh, he doesn't believe in you, Peter. Peter, he doesn't believe in you.
See, that's what I take. So I get a
Yes.
little tight.
Because that's what he's saying.
I hear you.
Unintentionally, subconsciously, he doesn't believe in you, that you were that quick and that sharp enough. And here's what I'd like to say to my family from the stage. Do you know how easy this is for me?
Good Will Hunting?
Good Will Hunting.
This is nothing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Because I'm talented.
Yeah.
And just because you tried to convince me otherwise for the first 53 years of my life.
I'm dying.
Oh my gosh.
You're my protector. You know the part of your brain that protects you.
Yeah.
Just became Gary Goldman.
Oh, good to
and
hear.
you got real. I
You
love
need
that.
it.
So that's my flare
I
up.
just hate seeing somebody else go through what was done to me.
Yeah.
And so I've become fucking Holden Caulfield over here.
Well, you just caught me. You stopped me from running off the cliff in the rye.
No, it's because these fucking people had no business raising kids, and they weren't that. My mother said something recently that everything became so clear, like this grail of Rosetta Stone of how I became who I am. We went to see my nephew had a child. We went to see the baby, and so it's my mother's great grandchild. And I said, how about that? I said something, and I put together something because she's always impressed by a little bit of sentimentality. So I said, so I know my audience. So I said, how about that? 4 generations, whatever horseshit I was peddling with her because I like to please her. And
I am relating hard to that.
And she said, yeah, I'm not a baby person.
Your mom said that?
Yeah, and I said to myself, "Oh, you mean a mother?"
I'm dying.
Yeah,
I'm not a baby person to her baby.
yeah, to her baby.
I will say,
yeah.
Val, do I say the H? Sade.
Sade, yeah,
But it's
yeah, yeah,
S-A-D-E.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always
yeah,
have
yeah.
Sade
But it's-
anxiety.
Right.
Am I like, is that Sade?
Yeah, no,
Sade.
but Siri
But I
calls her
haven't-
Sade, but
Of
it
course
is Sade.
And when you use Siri, you have to go, call Sade. Call Sade.
yes,
Yeah, who do I have in my phone like that? It doesn't matter. Who cares? Oh, my friend Kate Malore. It's Kate Maller, but you have to say Malore. Anyway, it's stupid. But I hear all that anger, and I share in that, and that was partly my experience. But then Val, like Scarlett Johansson and the Hulk, like I hold out my hand and she goes, "Sun's getting real low."
Yeah.
She kind of calms me down and goes,
Yeah.
"Isn't it possible?" And I'm gonna ask you too. That is how he's trying to say, I saw that and I liked it. She's like, put the subtitles on and just own that that's as close as we're going to get to I saw it and I liked it. We want, I can make myself cry doing an impression of my father and just be like, I know we've always, I don't know if we've ever had a close conversation. Just like a fantasy.
Yeah.
But like, he goes, was that programmed? Can't we, instead of getting upset, I'm just saying for our own good, step out and say, is it possible that that's him saying, I saw it and I liked it? That's what Val says. She goes, I saw it and I liked it.
she's an apologist. She's a Mr. Holmes apologist. That's how I'm.
Not having it!
No, I'm not having it. That says more about Val than it says about your dad. That Val is a peacekeeper and loves you and loves your dad and
Peacekeeper.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a tricky one for us because I'm a peacekeeper, Val's a peacekeeper.
Yeah.
And then and I'm assuming you were a peacekeeper.
No, I had
No?
a middle brother who was a peacekeeper. I was 10 and 15 years younger than my brothers, so I was just this kind of weird remnant of my parents' marriage that dissolved when I was 1.5. So
Wow.
yeah,
Heavy?
pretty heavy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you still have that when you were talking about with your mom and you want to say something, the role, it feels almost like a little politician. I talked to my brother after that little dust up with my dad.
What's his name?
John,
Okay,
which is my dad's name.
John Holmes.
John Holmes, I know. You want a family joke? In our family, we call him Shorty. And to say something kind and nice about my parents, they don't take anything seriously. They love jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah,
that we
yeah,
have a
yeah.
family joke.
Right.
Like when I hang out with families, we have our stuff. But when I hang out, one thing we're not stiff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's being a stiff. And there's a
Right.
lot of like death before
Wow, that's
blending in or fucking they're
cool.
out there razzle dazzling in their own way. I got stoned recently and had like a nice moment. I was like, oh my God, this is what this plant is for. Where I was visiting home and I was like, they're one of a kind. But I had it in the good way. Instead of like the angry, like, nobody's like my parents. You don't understand my parents. I was like, oh my God, nobody's like them.
Right.
And I had real,
Yeah.
I accessed
Yeah.
a room that is usually mired by the from the ground up seaweed of what I wish it was. But I got
Yeah.
past it.
That's a great attitude because they are a gift to somebody like us or David Sedaris. His family is just. Oh
That's
my
what Val
gosh.
says too. Is that what Sade
Yeah.
says? She's like, that's the Goldman Factory.
Yeah, I mean, my wife has really interesting takes on my family because she's also seeing them as an outsider, not just of my family, but as a black person,
Yeah.
and somebody who didn't grow up around a family of Jews of our age,
Yeah.
and background. So she's she's sort of an anthropologist in that.
Was that part of
way.
the appeal? Because I was looking for somebody different too. The thought of dating someone from Boston. Is Sade from Boston?
No, she's from Trenton, New Jersey.
See, this is
she,
what- yeah.
she went to the same high school my dad went to, but 60 years apart, literally.
Whoa. But you didn't want to reenact the pattern. You were looking for a new, not just a new record, but a different record store.
Right, but
Like completely.
but
Let's move away.
the main thing in that
That's not code for black, by the way.
Right, but
I'm not saying you went to the black record store. I'm saying you wanted different from what
the
your
main
family
way
was.
she differs from my family is that the family are the simpletons, and Sade is an intellectual of the highest order. I mean, she's a Renaissance
No,
person.
I remember.
She reads in physics and science and feminist studies, and she went to the Tisch School at NYU for theater and writing, and so she's a really special.
So it's great
brain.
to have this brain watching your family.
Yeah.
What are there? Would you mind sharing any of her takes?
She
Something that
said-
might help people.
I had an argument with my mother because somebody put on a video of me on a talk show. I think it was the Tamron Hall, and at the time I had long hair and a goatee, and my mother said, "Ugh, you look evil." And immediately I went to Defcon 1, and I said, "How can you say that about yourself?" A lot of people are confused about the Defcon ratings because of Kanye West saying that he was at Defcon. First of all, it's Defcon. He was at Defcon 3 on the Jews, and it turns out Defcon 3 is not that severe. Defcon 1 is really that's nuclear war, but Defcon 3 on the Jews, we still have time to get our affairs in order.
It's like a siren.
Yeah,
you have time. You have time.
Yeah, I think DEFCON 3 was pretty much the Cold War era. We were always at around 3 or 3.5, 4. But I mean, this is just a person who saw War Games 6 times in the theater.
So Kanye was
Anyhow.
offensive and inaccurate.
Yeah, I don't know which bothered me more, the anti-Semitism or the not getting the words
Just hard
right.
to say.
Yeah,
It's just hard to say.
Yeah, and then so we had an argument over that, and I said, you know how hurtful that is, and why is everything about my appearance like I am an extension of you? And Sade said, you're arguing, and not in front of my mother, but later after things calmed down, she said, you're arguing with her like she's an equal, and she is, and she said, I don't mean this in a pejorative manner. She's a simple woman.
Yeah.
She knows good, bad, like, dislike, pretty, ugly.
You're trying to
yuck,
put it on.
Yum. And you are bringing in 30 years of therapy and Jungian psychology and Camus and all the other things you've read, and all she knows is that she didn't like your hair and she found it revolting.
Can I call Sade when I need this?
Oh my gosh.
Because
she's
I've
sharp,
said,
man.
you know how many times I've said this week, I just resent sometimes, not sometimes, often. I was on an airplane. I talked with the woman the whole flight, and it was a great chat. I
Wow.
enjoyed the chat. But they, like a lot of people, were going like, you know, the things you leave unsaid with family, you'll regret. So you should do it.
Yeah.
They were like, sit knee to knee, look eye to eye, and say this, this, and this. This made me feel this way. And I hear now Sade's voice going like, what do you... I say, you might as well be telling me to speak Portuguese to a tennis ball.
Yes.
That's not putting down the tennis ball.
Yeah.
And I'm not degrading the Portuguese language.
My therapist said, and
That doesn't make me a coward. It doesn't
No.
make me not doing the work. And you know what I said? I was like, you know what I can handle? Fucking regret. You know what I can't handle? I can handle regret. You know what I can't handle? Is that.
Yes.
You're talking to me like you're saying, you know what I say? It's not people. You're picturing a person. You're picturing like a thing. It doesn't work that way sometimes. Like in your situation, you're speaking Portuguese.
Yes.
It's a different thing. And that doesn't mean
Exactly.
you're not brave and honest and
Exactly.
And I crave closeness with my family.
Yeah.
But that's not the way to do it. And that's not the way for everybody. So I do want to say, let's stop assuming that that's a safe endeavor for everybody.
That is such a great insight, and I love that. Yeah, I can live with the regrets. But
That's what Val's therapist says. She goes,
and
regrets manageable.
Yeah, and my therapist said something similar. He said about my entire family, they're not taking any new information.
That is great. And I didn't know Ray Romano was seeing people therapeutically.
Alan Lefkowitz is his name, and there are
They're
a number
not
of there
taken.
are a number of friends that we have that see him. So
name
I'll
names,
bump into
name
I'll bump
names.
into Bobby Kelly going in and out, or Joe List. And
That's a warm couch after
yeah,
Bobby.
it's a warm couch. And Bobby, he's so funny, and he would say if he'd come in after me, say, "You leave anything for me?"
Like he's gonna be done. I'm done doling it out. But he sees this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the conversation I had with my brother that I wanted to know, you said, I know what to say, to your mother. She likes sentimentality.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this out of a beautiful, this is me in because under all the anger is the sadness, right? It's the colorful candy shell on the sadness M&M. Right under it is a little boy, me still, wanting closeness, wanting connection, wanting good for them, wanting good for the family. So there's still this desire to connect. Boy, I was hoping I was going to remember what I was trying to say.
With your brother John.
Oh, yeah. So I call him. What did my brother say, though? We're talking about fucking. No, this almost never happens.
That's okay.
It is okay.
It'll come back to us. We'll circle back around.
Can I say?
Yeah.
When you said, do you have any idea how fucking easy this is for me?
Oh, wow.
I got the chills.
Oh, really?
Good Will
So,
Hunting.
yeah. It just keeps giving to us, doesn't it?
It just keeps giving.
That's Sade and I were over at your house and we watched it together, and it's one of my favorite moments.
Right here?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
I can't get enough, and forgive me, everybody, but I'm going to keep
And
it.
I don't think I've ever done a better TV set than what I did on the Pete Holmes show. That I watch that now, and usually we cringe, and I watch it now and I think, oh, that's what joy looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, comfort and being embraced. That was a great feeling.
That was a special thing, too, because the Pete Holmes show was such a tree house.
Yeah.
It's like climbing up into a tree house.
Totally.
And there were Rolling Stones and Mad magazines. And,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was an old Nintendo.
Yeah.
And we had electric running on a long orange extension cord. And it was just safe. And we were going let's make the comic safe. And you came out and you're fucking one of the best that's ever done it.
Living or dead.
Living or dead.
I told you to say living or dead at the end of that. Whenever you
Living or dead.
When you say I'm the greatest. Imagine if I wrote it down. Can you imagine?
I can. I'm going to toss this Matt Damon at you. And I'm almost done. Everybody knows I say this a lot, but the Bourne trilogy is about trying to break family trauma, break bad patterns. Wow. I'm going to say 1 point. Bourne Ultimatum, the best one.
Okay.
Who is he trying to meet at Waterloo Station? He's trying to meet a reporter. He wants witness. He wants someone to hear his story. He was inducted through waterboarding into a system that he did not want to join.
Wow.
Can you commit to this program? Sounds like my dad, doesn't it? Yeah. Can you commit to this? Was that programmed?
Wow.
And he goes, I can't. They make him in. That's your genes.
Yeah.
That's your upbringing. That's your school. That's everything. They're not even doing it maliciously. That's just what they think. We gotta train you to be a killer for your safety.
Right.
Then he's had enough.
Yeah.
He meets Marie, who I actually think is the mom. His girlfriend is the mom.
Okay.
She dies, so the mom is taken. And then Pamela Landy, who's the woman on the inside that helps him come in, that's his wife. That's his Sade.
Interesting.
That's she's smart.
Right.
She understands the system.
Yeah.
So he goes to Waterloo to meet a reporter so the reporter will write a story about what's happening. That's what we're looking for with therapists, with friends, with relationships. Can you bear witness to what happened? Because if we can, quote Fred Rogers, if it's mentionable, it's manageable.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Wow. Todd Glass said that to me again last night.
Don't mention other podcasts.
Oh, sorry about that. He doesn't cast anymore, so I think it's
Really?
safe. But I'm also
Todd Glass show?
I'm also getting a lot of Homer's The Odyssey vibe in the telling the tale and the being kind of forced into going on an Odyssey and but also the coming back with the elixir and wanting everybody to know about it. With the
hero's journey.
Yeah, the hero's journey.
You bring it back to the village.
It's not surprising. It's Jungian, right?
It is. It absolutely is. In fact,
Yeah.
Falling Upward, which I'm looking at, it's on the bookshelf there by Richard Rohr,
Oh,
is
wow.
looking at the Odyssey through a
Interesting.
spiritual lens and being like, that's what we
Interesting.
all have to do.
Can I take a break to use the
Nope.
restroom? I'm really sorry about
Sweat
that.
it out,
I
Gary.
didn't,
Sweat it out. No, we'll go to the mid-rolls,
Okay.
and you go make a mid-roll.
it's a number one.
Okay.
Just so we're clear.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
I am so excited about this latest Pete's Pick, which is First Person, a mushroom-based supplement that helps us naturally produce more oxytocin. This is a product that has literally changed both my and Val's life, giving us more oxytocin, also known as the feel-good hormone from our friends at First Person. What is it? It's called Golden Hour, using precision-targeted supplements with functional mushrooms that aim to stimulate the body's natural production of specific neurotransmitters that trigger activities like energy, mood, and sleep. That's a fancy way of saying, here's an all-natural supplement that is going to help your body produce more oxytocin. Golden Hour helps me tune into a sense of joy, connection, and relaxed presence. I noticed the difference the first time I took it. Within 15 minutes, it's incredible, and that effect has only built over time the more I use it. It helps support your body's natural production of oxytocin to mitigate stress, boost the mind-body connection, and it may even help promote long-term cognitive health. So we're always talking about oxytocin. I mean, it's huge, the feel-good hormone. How do you get it? Turns out our friends are here to help. But that's not all. I love Golden Hour so much, I take all three of First Person's family of supplements, and I'm so glad I do. These are meant to be stacked. They work so well together. But if you're going to try one, I would start with Golden Hour. They are so incredible. I take Sunbeam for the dopamine. I take Golden Hour for the oxytocin, so I feel joyful and motivated, so I take them at the same time. And of course, I take Moonlight before bed for the perfect night of sleep. It's 100% grain-free, organic mushrooms, as well as highly curated blend of neuroceuticals. First Person is a game changer. It's an incredible company. I'm so glad to be working with them. So start improving your brain health and cognition with First Person. You can get 20% off your first order by going to getfirstperson.com and use promo code WEIRD. That's getfirstperson.com and use promo code WEIRD. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But if you've been listening to We Made It Weird, Val and I both have been shouting their praise. Absolutely no going back. Give it a try. Getfirstperson.com and use promo code WEIRD. We're also brought to us by our friends at Next Evo. Next Evo is incredible, especially as we're shifting from the laid-back, lazy summer days into these hectic fall days, especially if you have little kids going to school. There's a lot of stress going around, and if I don't take care of my body, and if I don't rest completely, I wake up looking like a shipwrecked Captain Jack Sparrow. It's a bad situation. So I take Next Evo CBD. I love their stress gummies, which have ashwagandha to help you calm down, and the CBD gets into your system so much better. They have something called Smart Sorb technology, which makes sure that the CBD is actually getting into your body, which is huge. When I talk to people about CBD, they're often a little hesitant because they don't feel it and they don't know how to dial in the dose correctly. Well, Next Evo is taking care of both of that. You feel it within 10 minutes, and they have it figured out. The absorption problem has been solved by Next Evo. What you take is what you're going to get, so you can dial it in just right and find out the perfect dose for you. I love their Stress CBD complex, combining the premium CBD with the ashwagandha to soothe away stress and stay calm as you get back into these fall routines. So get more Z's and more Zen in your life. They also have the Sleep Support Complex, which is an incredible part of a sleep routine. So get more Z's and more Zen in your life. Upgrade to better natural solutions from Next Evo Naturals. Go to Next Evo and use promo code WEIRD for 25% off. That's 25% off at nextevo.com and use promo code WEIRD. All right, everybody, let's get back to Gary.
Ask you about a dynamic of the book with your family.
Oh, yeah. Because we only got who published it.
Right. There are things that I'm sure they'll be embarrassed by, or think, well, that's not what happened.
In your book?
Yeah. Or with my mother, she'll say that she was embarrassed that I talked about her stealing greeting cards from the Hallmark store she worked at, and so she called me about that, and it's just
How was that?
part of the dread
Because I'm shaking.
of it coming out, the book, was that, I'm going to hear from my family and they're going to, like they do at every comedy show. Well, that wasn't true, was it? Is that how that happened? And second guessing and undermining. And I worked out this thing in my head because I've thought about it, and I wonder what you think about this. And to anything they say, if they really get down on me, I will say, I could have gone harder.
Could have gone
It could have been worse.
Could have been.
Just be grateful.
Well, you know the Anne
I
Lamott,
was easy on you.
the Anne Lamott quote.
Which is, you should have been nicer to me.
Yeah, if people don't like how you wrote about them, they should have been kinder.
I forgot about that. Oh
Yeah,
my
you
gosh.
need that. Everyone
Yeah.
who writes a book needs that.
Oh, that's really helpful. So
Yeah.
you thought about that when you were...
Well, dude, I realized that I wrote the book trying to be my own reporter at Waterloo Station. I was like, I'm going to put it in black and white.
Yes.
And I actually had a nice call with my folks. I didn't go that hard, but there was a nice moment where I felt seen. It was very brief. It was on the call. They had just read it. But I also think there was some stuff. Somehow it got back to me that it was like, I think somebody in my family, I'm still too scared to be specific, but somebody was like, Peter's a drug addict or something, because I talk about taking mushrooms in the book.
Right. That's hilarious.
And I'm like, that is...
But when we were kids, we would have thought
Yeah.
Peter's a drug addict.
You're right.
Yeah.
But this is Sade.
He's
good, bad.
Yeah,
does
he's a
drugs,
stoner.
doesn't do drugs.
He's a stoner
Yeah.
and a burnout.
Even though the book goes to great lengths to being
Yeah.
like, this was weird for
Yeah.
me too, and this is what it meant to me, and all this stuff.
And
but
they
all
never-
of that understanding faded away very quickly.
That region of the country and our families never got artists.
Yeah.
They referred to as artsy-fartsy, and one of the hardest things, one of the hardest things to do as
mean
an
that was
adult,
unintentional?
was
Hardest.
as an adult, performing and writing was to see this as art and as an artist, and that these sentences were in their way poetic, and that's a tough transition to make from where we came from, and it makes me admire Damon and Affleck even more, because they were able to maintain this street cred, but also they tell stories of being really into the theater when they were in high school, even, and it must have been that their parents being from Cambridge and understanding artists and creativity, because we just didn't have that, and the artists were denigrated, and they were going to be broke, and the perpetual students and the starving artist, it makes me want to take a flamethrower to this place.
Yeah.
Fuck you too. Yeah, that's a great New England movie, man. Scent of a Woman gets me so pumped up sometimes.
Yeah, me
If
too.
I was half the man I used to be, I'd take a flamethrower to and Harry, fuck you too.
And it cuts to them in the crowd. There's an insert of them listening. Little Phil Hoffman.
Yeah.
Dude.
Phil Hoffman, even as a child, was out acting everyone around him, including Al Pacino.
Yeah. I know.
Right?
I know. How good is he in that movie?
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. You mean what happened? Or
Even
just
within
his
that
performance?
movie, it's heartbreaking.
No, I agree.
Because he had a little bit of a
Stade.
conscience and a little bit of a heart in that movie.
Yeah.
And and he was just a pawn of.
Talented Mr. Ripley too. How's the peeping Tom?
Wow.
So good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's when we were like,
and Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Scotty.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew he could do that?
Wow.
Because there was a time when we didn't know that Philip Hoffman was like going to be a great actor. He was just a guy in Send a Woman. And you're kind of like, yeah, that's probably just who that guy is.
Nope.
You know what I mean? He's like, hey, Jazzy, or whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
And then he's in Boogie Nights.
Give me one of those great hugs. Scent of a Woman is so good.
It's
Chris
funny
Fleming loves watching Al Pacino in anything and
Yeah.
only the Al Pacino, and it's exactly right. It's so
cutting to just the Pacino scenes.
just the Pacino scenes.
skip.
In Heat and Scarface. It's all Pacino. But yeah,
That's funny because that was my movie. When I watched Scent of a Woman, I wrote my dad a letter.
Wow.
See, talk about books, right? And let's get back to your book, but like, it's always been trying to get to Waterloo Station.
Yeah.
Trying to put it on paper so you couldn't change it. But that was just like a love letter to my dad.
Yeah.
And I still stand by a lot of what I said because when I was a kid, like, 15, 13 maybe, drive a fucking Winnebago to Staten Island, park it in Staten Island, take the ferry. I just thought like there was a feeling that Manhattan was like a special place for very savvy people.
Oh,
of course, having lived there, you're like, that's not true. But
No, but it was
there's a perception.
overwhelming on my first visits.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, I should give myself more credit for this, for navigating it and feeling it at home and
Absolutely.
comfortable there and not terrified of missing the connection or the transfer and all that.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
Because I do have friends who said I can't handle it. It's too anxiety provoking for me, and they have to avoid it.
And then what you realize to survive in Manhattan is you have to carve out your little way.
Yeah.
Not the whole thing. Don't do the whole thing.
No.
Your little way.
Yep.
And that's why, again, when I say I'm a little on the spectrum, I don't know if that's true, but like I thrived in that way. I always ate at MAMMALS. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
That's my pre-show meal.
Yeah.
And I always catch this train and go, and you just get in your little
ritual
loop.
is very comforting. It
helps.
The Catholics are onto something.
It's true. If you look at all of it, it's paralysis. But if you're just like, that's why stand-up, coming into Manhattan and learning the city, I mean, talk to any comic. You're like, it's over by Broadway Comedy Club. It's by the old Gotham. You know what I mean? It's by the old Improv. Like these are still the landmarks.
No,
because that's
totally.
where we went.
Totally.
Riddled with adrenaline. So of course we remember where it is.
Yeah, but it's the adrenaline that's a great point, because I am driving around the city going to different interviews and plugs and things, and I'm going by the Laugh Factory and I'm going by the store, and I'm filled with bile.
Really?
Because these were places that shut me out while I lived here, and I couldn't get on, and Jamie Masada was convincing. I don't know if you ever heard about this, but his thing was to get young comedians to be a character that had nothing to do with their life or their biography. So he would say, okay, buddy, you are the garbage man. You do only jokes about garbage. And it was this incredibly cynical, calculated idea to get development deals from the networks, because they were very lucrative in the 90s and up until 2000. And it was just so twisted.
You trying to hack the system?
Totally.
What did he tell you to do?
Luckily,
You are told you.
to me, he said, he said, you like kid who never grow up. And so I was like, all right, that's not actually true, but at least it's a little bit closer to what I...
Yeah.
What,
You're making me realize when I was in New York,
I'm a
somebody
little bit silly.
in a loving way was like, you should wear long sleeve t-shirts and like an Atari shirt over it.
Yeah, because
So
you had to
you-
have a hook. But here's the thing.
Like look like an
It's-
alt kid in a
it's
Capri
not-
Sun
it's
commercial.
Not wrong in terms of commerce, in that TV is a very efficient look
Yeah, look that way.
business.
Yeah.
It probably held me back that I didn't look like my act at any point, that the people
That's
were...
interesting.
Yeah.
When I saw you, I don't remember often what people are wearing, and I'm sure I mentioned this the other two times, but when you did that set at the Comic Connection, you were wearing a crimson red Harvard
football sweatshirt. Yeah, I still have that sweatshirt.
And I was
it was
like...
adorable, man.
I was like, what is this? Because again, comedy was like, if you need a place to open a beer, you put it on the counter and you bop it. You bop it like a gopher in your fucking yard.
unless
now I'm drinking a beer.
Yeah, unless you're a fucking pussy.
Exactly. And then you come up looking like Malcolm Gladwell, to be honest, and proving that stand-up is quite easy. I'm just JK. So let's talk a little bit more about the book. Your mom didn't like the greeting card stuff.
Yeah.
So
and she's not going to like me talking about her twin brother who was a burglar and fence.
The best word to say in a Boston accent, burglar.
Burglar. Yeah. He was a very interesting, very entertaining man, but he was a derelict and a lunatic and didn't bathe and had a very interesting story about Uncle Norman was that he was working at the post office, and there was a big snowbank, and it was very snowy, and his job at the post office was he was a janitor, so you did everything involving that when you were a custodian in the 50s or 60s.
This is very
or whenever,
Jamie Masada.
wherever
You
it
are a
was.
custodian.
Yeah.
Not a good accent.
Right, but Uncle Norman was a custodian at the post office. It was a government job, and it had benefits, and he was shoveling some snow. And a truck, either a Sears truck or a truck associated with another deep-pocketed corporation, backed into Uncle Norman. And as this was happening, Uncle Norman always told us, he said, and I knew at that moment my time had arrived. And
Like he was set.
with that lawsuit, he bought a house, and with that house, it was a duplex, so he was able to rent out the
That's
other
like
part.
Office Space, where he's like the guy in the wheelchair, and he's like, if you wait, something good is coming down the line. And it's like a huge injury and a lawsuit.
Yes,
wow.
yes, and he was just thrilled, and for the rest of his life, he dealt in stolen merchandise, and so I don't know if I talked about
Sears.
Yeah, I don't know if I talked. That's the irony. I don't know if I talked about this in the book, but we would have great electronics, and we were broke. We were on food stamps, but we would have a good TV and a good stereo throughout the 70s. It was never the same TV, never the same stereo, because he would resell things that he had given us, and
Wait, it would
like one year we
disappear?
had we would bring it back, and then he would get us another one, and it was either the same, better, worse, but beggars can't be choosers. And then my Uncle Norman at one point, and it was probably just he was storing it at my mother's house until the heat was off. We had a pinball machine in our kitchen, and not a plastic one that you would get at Sears. It was from an arcade or a sub shop. It was a sub shop pinball machine.
What was it? Tell me it was Aerosmith.
In our kitchen. No, it was not the Who's Tommy, but that's the only one that people know pinball machines. It was a stock car racing type thing, and it was old fashioned. It didn't have the digital. It was really old, but it was really cool, man. And at one point, my brothers took off the glass that covered it, so we could just run up high scores by flicking the things while we were playing pinball. And it was a lot of fun, and it was this weird little oasis of utter poverty where we had essentially an arcade, and also I had a gumball machine like from the front of the grocery store that Uncle Norman had lifted. And so I started this candy store in my garage called Gully's Gumballs. And you didn't have to ride your bike to 7-Eleven. You could buy a gumball in my garage and
play some pinball.
And let me tell you something. The gumball was a loss leader for the candy that I had bought at a candy store in Lynn, Mass. And I would resell it at a huge markup. I just wanted to get you in the door at the
it got
garage
you in.
door. It got you in.
It's like streaming on Amazon. They don't make money on the streaming, but you stay and you buy something.
You're gonna buy a Mallow cup, or
Wow.
Yeah.
Gulman's. What was it?
I was Gully's Gumballs, and I was an entrepreneur until I was telling the story of my coup. I thought I had invented capitalism because I was telling somebody at a Passover Seder. I said, so what I do is I buy the candy for a nickel, and then I sell it for a dime. Like I had invented some brilliant scheme. I had invented profit. And my
invented profit.
My middle brother, and I don't know if you had this with anybody in your family, their job was to, anytime there was a swelling of my self-esteem, they would immediately pop it. So I'm telling the story about my brilliant scam of charging more than I paid for candy. And my brother Max said, "Don't be so obnoxious." And Pete, I don't know how many times you've been slapped in the face,
Yeah.
but it was that, but worse. It hit me right in the stomach, and it was in front of people, and I was on such a high, and he was so put off by my personality that and you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. You're like, oh, he was probably 2 or 3 years old, but like I said, he was 19 years old when he just robbed me of any kind of pride and excitement, and I just remember that was like kind of there were a number of things that were demarcation points in my childhood, but that one was a real like, holy shit, I'm not the same as I was before he said that.
Oh, wow.
Oof.
Hey,
Yeah.
There's a Jimmy Eat World song that I love. And
The Middle?
It's not The Middle.
Oh,
It's
The
called
Middle is a
great song.
great song.
That was my divorce anthem. It'll just take some time.
Yeah.
It'll get better. Everything will be all right. That saved me.
Yeah.
And I was in the car listening to like Dropkick Murphys and feeling angry, and then fucking Jimmy Eat World comes on,
So
mixes
good.
up the vibe. This is radio days. I'm
Yeah,
listening to
yeah,
the radio.
no, I get it.
So I hear fucking
Yeah,
Jimmy
yeah,
Eat World, and I'm
yeah,
like, it's gonna be okay.
Pre-playlist.
We put it in
Yeah.
Crashing. I'm listening to the middle, little Easter egg. Who cares? Who fucking cares? But there's a song called Lucky.
I care.
I know you care. We care. We're
Yeah.
caring. We're creating the caring.
Yeah.
But you made it weird. Creating the caring since 2013. Jesus. Anyway, the chorus of the song is, you sucked that lucky feeling right out of me.
Yes.
And I really relate to that.
Wow.
Because it's a fragile thing.
Yeah.
It's like a little
I'm
baby bird.
So careful with any kind of accomplishment. So they're publishing an excerpt from the book in Rolling Stone, and
No
I know,
shit.
yeah, and I know if I were to tell my mother or my brothers or anyone, they would say either, "Oh, I don't read that," or "Oh, good for you, good for you," and it'll just take all the excitement. So I don't share anything with them because they can suck the joy, right? They're joy vultures,
Yeah.
these people, and they never match my enthusiasm for anything. Who's the publisher? Ugh.
Yeah.
And is there a publisher I could have mentioned that she would have known other than Random House or it's
You're just left with
Yeah.
it's not enough or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it never ends, and sadly I still need to I wouldn't say impress her, but make her proud. And the compliments you get, let's go over these. Have you ever gotten, I don't know how you remember it all.
Yeah. That's a terrible one.
That's not a compliment.
No.
And if you said that to them, they would accuse you of being sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really hard. I've gotten look at you in California, following your dream.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That was at
Who
a
said
funeral.
that? Patty Ross?
It was at a funeral and my brother was standing next to
Do
me.
you know Patty Ross?
No.
Oh, she's this great comedian and an actress. You'd recognize her because she's been in a lot of Boston filmed movies. She was in
The
most
Fighter.
like not The Fighter, but she was in Spotlight. She played one of the secretaries, and she's a great article, guys. She's got this great voice, and she was a stand-up who came out here and immediately was embraced and pushed ahead. But she told me something early on in comedy that was so great because the audiences could be just treacherous in Boston. She said, "Fourth wall 'em. Fourth wall 'em."
Like put a wall between you two.
Yeah, you don't need to acknowledge these people. They're lemmings. They're lemmings.
I've heard a different strategy, which is sometimes don't build a connection like a tube from you to them. Put a tube up into the sky, like into a higher power or another meaning.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not safe. It goes back to Portuguese to the tennis ball. Sometimes it's not a safe connection to establish.
You find a safe one, it's great to put it into that area of the audience.
That's
but
right.
If you can't find a safe one, it's
Put it
better
to the
put-
sky.
Totally.
Put it to the sky.
Yeah.
Or talk to Sade. Talk
Yeah.
talk
Oh
to
my
a safe
gosh.
person. Collect the people like me.
Yeah.
I'm seeing your book is fucking brilliant. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I thought you self-published it. Then I dig you. I thought you self-published it, and I still liked it. I was kind of sad when I saw Gully's Gumballs Publishing made it. I'm like always in the hole on this one. Let me ask you this though.
Here's the thing. I
Hit it.
lied when I told my mother.
You said Random House?
No, I said Macmillan, but it's an imprint of Macmillan
course.
called Flatiron.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't know Flatiron.
Yeah.
And I knew all she asked me for was that so she could brag to her friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I said Macmillan, which isn't it's a white lie.
I
don't know
understand.
I don't understand what the difference is.
Harper
but
Wave published mine. That's Harper One imprint
from HarperCollins, right?
from HarperCollins. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm telling my folks.
Yeah.
HarperCollins.
Yeah.
for
Because
sure.
they don't get anything. And I mean, I'm a recurring character on Life and Beth with Amy Schumer, and I have not told my mother because she doesn't understand what Hulu is.
That is fucking so funny what you just said.
It's funny and it's kind of sad.
No, it is sad, but it was funny how
Right,
you
yeah,
said
yeah.
it. I'm seeing
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Here's
Yeah.
this will drive you crazy, but it's fun watching you get crazy. I'm never gonna forget. Do you understand how easy this is for me? My dad always goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, Peter, how big of a deal is this?
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And
But
God
they're
love
t-
them for trying.
But
they're
they are
trying.
trying it, but they're also telling you how big of a deal it is to them.
Yeah.
That my father was really good at matching my enthusiasm for something and understanding what level of enthusiasm there should be to match my enthusiasm for this. And he teaches you indirectly, subconsciously, how you can get with him. And you can get excited, and he'll match your enthusiasm because he loves seeing me excited. And so he's passed, but there's so many things where my mother will say, "Oh, your father would be so
passed at
proud
the
of
store?
the."
He's passed at the cellar.
He's passed at the cellar.
He's passed everywhere, man.
He got 2 recommendations, and Esty saw him on a Friday night, and he went on. He went on after
I'd
Pete
love you.
Davidson did a guest spot. That wasn't easy.
That wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, ride the wave.
So my dad
Matches your enthusiasm.
matches my enthusiasm,
excited
and
to see you excited.
so the book, I know how excited he would get because he got excited when I made 1 out of 2 free throws at the free throw line. Anything I did, he was excited by because he took great joy in me. That's what they never tell you about being a parent, is that it is important as getting them through college, to enjoy them.
Yeah. Can I tell you? Okay, I think you should read these books. Father Greg Boyle.
Okay.
Don't get sweaty. He is a priest.
No, I
know.
I went to a Jesuit college.
I remember.
Yeah.
And he's a Jesuit, so
Yeah.
you'll love it.
No, I love them.
He's incredible. Tattoos on the Heart, the whole language, and I'm blanking on the other one, but just get any of his books on audio. They're great books.
All right.
So he works with gang members, and he tells story after story. He's one of my fathers. You know what I mean? He's a guy that's just filled a place in my heart, and he tells these stories of gang members coming in and being proud of their report cards, and he's like, straight A's. He's like, check it out, G, I got straight A's. And he opens it, and it's C, D, F, A, C.
Yeah.
And he goes, his inner monologue, he's like, oh, this guy doesn't know. He doesn't even say it. This is what I would say. This guy doesn't know what straight A's means. But he probably says something more gentle, like a little confusion on what straight A's means. But he just goes, oh, son, you did it. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And there's this thing that Richard Rohr says about our relationship to God that I think about all the time, is that we are like children drawing bad crayon drawings, and God puts them on the fridge.
Oh,
and
my word. What an image. What an analogy.
It's great, right?
That's incredible.
And that's it. That's, as we're talking about these human letdowns, it did put in me a yearning to find the source.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It sent me on the journey to go
Sure.
look, I think we're looking maybe in the wrong place. People are always going to be people, but you can be the twinkle in the eye. You can look at the report card and go, son, you did it. I'm so proud of you. And I know there's people out there that people gave Mr. Rogers shit, but it's and Mr. Rogers said it's all love or lack of it, right?
Yep.
So yeah, you could go, what's this F? You know what I say to that? Fuck off. Eat
Totally.
shit. Pick your moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Leela does it all
Totally.
the time. She says something wrong. or she's just completely wrong about something. And I go, I didn't know that. I didn't know birds are robots or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
you yes and.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or you know what I do with Lila a lot? Not to toot my own, but like I say, what do you think a lot? She goes like, we went on Pirates of the Caribbean and she goes, is that pirate real? I'm like, what do you think? You know what I mean? It's just fun.
Oh, man.
Fun.
That is.
I know you don't want to have kids because you're too old now. I'm just kidding. Ow!
No,
because of the Great Depression. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But I just want to give you love. I'm not judging that. I'm saying you are a great father.
Oh,
you have that energy, and
thank
when you
you.
share this wisdom, you're giving it to people. It's beautiful.
Well, that's so nice to hear. I appreciate that. But Sade and I are going through some steps involving.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here I'm holding you to a standard you said 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that's
Forgive me.
That's not a euphemism for having sex, taking steps to.
Do you want to take some steps tonight?
No,
eating oysters helps us take steps.
There are things because with regards to pregnancy, she's 37.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be 37, and
you
so
got to
there
watch Adam Ruins Everything.
Okay.
There's an Adam Ruins Everything about pregnancy.
Okay.
Must watch.
Okay.
Because the risk.
I really
like
enjoy that
something,
guy.
He's incredible.
Sharp, man.
The risk. So when people
funny.
say that your risk doubles at a certain age of something going goofy, it goes from something like 0.01 to 0.02.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah,
need
yeah.
to watch it. It'll make you feel
that's interesting.
better. It made us feel
cool.
better about breastfeeding.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
gift.
yeah.
Anyone I talk to
Yeah.
going into this, you have to watch the Adam Ruins Everything on pregnancy.
Okay, cool.
It's incredible. So you're thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're sniffing around, you're going.
We're taking steps, man.
Well, buddy, I already said, but I'm like, you are a dad.
Oh,
You're a dad.
Thanks, man.
You're a dad.
Thanks. And
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really
great.
nice to hear.
I feel like I feel like an old guy in your temple being like, it's a mitzvah. That's how I feel. I hope it happens. I hope
Yeah,
that
me
works
too.
out. Beautiful.
I think it would be really cool. Yeah.
All right. Good Will Hunting. Well, I just got sidetracked. I was going to say, what do you make of this? When you said, I still want my family to understand, see, compliment, whatever.
Yeah.
Even though you know intellectually. And you kind of were hard on yourself. You're like, I still go back. And I still go.
Yeah.
I have to, and I need
But you said something the last time, either on stage or backstage at Lago, where you were saying, no, it was backstage in your dressing room, where you said, your father just showed up and you said, I don't let them come to my shows and I don't invite them. And I remember thinking to myself, and not as a bit, I just remember thinking to myself, you can do that? I thought you had to allow these toxic people into your show because they spent a lot of money to get you through school and everything like that. But it's such a healthy thing, and this time around, because of that, I felt like, well, my mom is a big star of the book. I'm going to have her come, and I'll pay for her to be driven into Boston, and she'll say the same thing she says after every show, which is, how do you remember it all? Yeah. Which is,
Did I tell you the story? My dad came even though I told him not to come.
Right, to the Wilbur, right?
To the Wilbur. And I told a story that involved, I still tell this story, actually. I'm still doing it. Involved him not knowing he had pushed the wrong button on his phone. And standing ovation, 1,000 whatever people, Wilbur, big deal, homecoming, always special.
Special.
And my dad, again, I want to buffer this with like, everyone's doing the best they can. I get it. But the comment that he said was, that didn't happen. That was what he said. He goes, that never happened. The story.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, the point of the story was that you didn't know it was happening. Like that's the mechanism of the story, was that you were in the dark. So, and then I don't know if your family is like this. Then the next day I'm talking to my mom, and she'll be like, your father loved it, and like I'm like, it's interesting.
Right, but they fact check my set and question whether these
Here's the
things
question.
really happen, and they don't understand the idea of emotional truth, and that exaggeration doesn't negate. The
That's
occurrence,
interesting.
and it's just.
Well, let me ask. This is what I was going to ask you.
Mind blowing, but I just remember thinking that I do not have to have these people at my show, and if they want to come, this was the thing in that little allowance I made. I said if they really want to come, they'll get tickets themselves and show up instead of expecting me to arrange it and tell them the times. And it's just and so that assures that they won't come.
That's how I feel when my mom are like, my friend Johnny B. Joni wants to come to the show. I'm like, well, tell him the link is, because he's not coming.
Totally. But my mother,
he was being nice to you. He was going like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
He was being nice.
You said something a moment ago where you said they're doing the best they can. And here's my question. Are they going to therapy once a week? Are they inviting you to be in their therapy? Are they reading books on what it means to be the grandparent or an adult and things? Are they really doing their best? And what's the reality, Peter?
Here's my could be just defensive response, meaning I had to build this. Maybe it's not real. Maybe I should just say you're fucking right. I always say if I was my dad, my mom, anybody, if I was them, I'd be them. Meaning to you and I, it's an option to go, I could go to therapy. If I were them, if I had their past, if I had their biology, their physiology, every experience they've ever had, every guy at the fucking paddock smoking a cigarette going, you go to fucking therapy, Jay, you might as well chop off your fucking balls, kid. That is in there in like the key years.
Yeah.
The brain is being formed and that got kneaded into the dough.
Yeah.
If I was him, I'd be him. If I was her, I'd be her. And there is a surrender to that. And, you know, Rainn Wilson did the same thing. He was like, are they really doing the best they can? You know why I know it's the best they're doing? It's what they're doing. The end. It's reality. We can argue with it, but we'll only be wrong every single time. Byron Katie.
But we go out of our way to improve ourselves in so many different ways. And for instance, if you're a doctor, you have to keep up with the information.
Yeah.
Right? And you sometimes have to be recertified and all these things. And if your father was a doctor and was practicing, he would keep doing that. And yet he was a parent and he's not doing any of the things to become a better parent. And everybody in my life would say they did their best, and it included not trying to get better at any aspect of what I expected from them.
I hear that. But as someone who's experienced depression and anxiety, we only call it depression because we always got to work in the special. The Great Depression on Max now.
Yeah, it's not streaming on Max.
It's on Max.
Yeah.
I say that like that's a hot take. No, it's called Max. What am I, fucking a hack? Anyway, look, this is just dabbling in compassion because I love anger.
Yeah.
Fucking love it.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to just not be able to, for example, on a certain day, exercise, even though I know it'll extend my life and help my mood and turn it around. And some days I just go, eat shit. I go in and I ask the boardroom of my psyche, hi, I'm higher functioning Pete. I'm the CEO here. They all laugh. They all laugh that I think I'm the CEO. And I go, I'd like to exercise today because I think we're getting in a rut.
Yeah.
And they all vote, and I'm out voting. I can't do it. It's just a colorful way of saying it.
Yeah.
So I think...
And you do this 7 days a week?
Or try to exercise?
No, have this vote that you get voted down 7 days a week. What I'm saying is that your parents are voting it down 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and however many years. And here's the thing that I've finally gotten to after all these years, close to just accepting that, but also realizing that, well, if they're not going to put any effort, I'm not going home as much as I used to. And if they invite me out on these things and to these things, and I've done it with friends and I've done it with family, I don't have time for this because there are people who I go over to Pete Holmes's house, and if I were to tell Pete Holmes that he made me really uncomfortable the last time because he didn't, because he short shrifted or dismissed this, Pete Holmes would feel bad about it, not become defensive, not put it on me, not give me an example of how I did something similar to him. He would feel kind of bad. And so I don't have to dismiss them entirely and not have a place for them in my heart, but I don't have a lot of time for them anymore.
Yeah. I hear that, man. I hear that. I understand.
Yeah.
I had a joke I was trying.
I'm on the back nine of life.
Yeah. I fucking Bill Burr at the Comedy Store the other night was like, if you're having fake arguments with people in your mind, just get that person away.
Wow.
And I was like, I bristled against that. I was like, I don't know if I can do that.
Dan Soder calls them shower arguments or shower fights. We're in the shower.
But you just mentioned something truly powerful, which is I've been doing it on stage, and I just decided I'm not going to do it on stage. It's just not the funny to like real ratio is a little bit off. But I was like, every time, this is just true in my family. It's just a thing, an extended family. It's like a Boston thing. If I look for an apology, it almost always ends. It always ends with me apologizing for having my feelings hurt.
Oh, wow.
So
why would you abandon something that's that real and
you think
honest?
keep it?
And yeah, because eventually you're going
We'll
to
make
get
it
it
funnier.
right. As I come up on 30 years of comedy, there are things from 30 years ago in my notebook that I stuck with because they were original and also said something about me.
You're
and
right.
my
I'm
ideas.
totally
So
won
you
over.
should not. Yeah,
I
you
did
should
it at
not
Largo, and I
dismiss
saw people nodding,
something.
and I was like, you know what? I'll take nods.
Yeah.
Because those
Because
people probably felt
eventually-
less alone.
Eventually, you're going to get laughs, and you're going to find something, and maybe it'll just be a sentence amongst a bigger thing. But you get that sentence, and that will resonate, man, because that happens to me all the time. Where I stood up for myself on that instance when my mother said I looked evil.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I'm looking over at her, and she's whimpering because she feels attacked.
Yeah.
And that's what Sade, she said. She didn't hear anything you said. All she heard was criticism, 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 criticism.
Right.
And it was, and so I lost.
That's an interesting thing. Again, Val's strategy is, so when I said in this dust up with my dad, I apologized to him, and then I said, would you apologize to me because my feelings were hurt? And he wouldn't. And,
Oh,
and
wow.
but he was like, I was joking, and I really believe he believes that. And then he goes, but then he did say, I'm your father, Peter. I would never want to hurt you.
Yeah.
So then I tell Val that story, and she goes, I think that is the apology. You're waiting for.
Yeah, my mother's version.
I'm sorry, but this is actually, I'm trying to defend my dad and saying he did sort of say it. So I did something called the work. I go, for me to be safe, this is Byron Katie. I go, this is the belief that I caught myself feeling. For me to be safe, I need my father or my mother to understand and see me in a way that I understand being understood and seen. Like, is that true? It's absolutely not true. I'm waiting for someone like you to come in and be like, wow, of course. Yes, I'm sorry. Are you crazy? I didn't know you felt that way. I'm humiliated. Like, that's not happening.
Right.
But you have to, sometimes Val goes, wait, run the tape back. And we rewind it and goes, he said, I'm your father. I would never want to hurt you. I would prefer, I'm your father. I'm sorry I did hurt you.
Yes.
But he's saying, my intention wasn't to hurt you. That's as close as we got. And we go, you know what? Bingo?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Bingo question.
This is how you
mark.
play family
Yeah.
bingo.
Bingo.
The card, it's all just like
Under the
satanic symbols. And
G30?
you're like,
Yeah.
bingo!
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My mother's equivalent of what your father said was, what do you think? I wake up in the morning and think, how can I hurt my son?
I'm telling you, buddy, there is a fog over the entire Northeast.
Yeah.
It's like chemtrails
Yeah, dude.
because everybody's going, well, it's the same.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Grows a.
That there's nothing in between that.
Yeah.
Either you're waking up in the morning looking at how to hurt Gary, or you're completely innocent and
Yeah.
immediately forgivable.
You're right.
And you should not even bring it up.
Yeah. The part of the joke. by
I'm
the
not
way,
Hitler.
I've apologized. That's so funny. I've apologized to Leela because she was choking me. She was on my back, and she just doesn't understand necks very well, and she's choking me, couldn't breathe. And I went, baby, you're choking me, and she didn't like that I no-butted her.
Right.
You know, we're playing,
Yeah.
and she's feeling all those things. She's feeling embarrassed.
Yeah.
She stopped the fun. she hurt me. Who knows what she's feeling?
Right,
but she
right, yeah,
she
yeah,
like kind of cowers. All I said
Yeah.
was, "Baby, you're choking me,"
Yeah,
and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Sweetheart, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You're good." This is what I say to Leela 1,000 times a day. I go, "You're good. You're safe. You're loved." I just right. That's what we need.
Oh, my word.
dude! And I say it to Leela so much.
I
that
need
the
that.
last time I said, "Gary, you're good. You're safe. You're loved," and I mean that. Dead serious. And I say to Leela so much, one time I said it, she goes, "You say that all the time. Stop saying that." And I was like, I fucking love it.
So
I
good.
love it. I want you to be embarrassed that I love you
Yeah.
so much that I look at the report card and
Yeah.
go, straight A's.
Yeah.
Straight A's. Fucking
Yeah.
A.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It reminds me of that moment in.
Good
Remember
Will
the
Hunting?
original Parenthood with Steve Martin,
Mm-hmm.
the film, when his son is at the top of a clock tower gunning down strangers
Mm-hmm.
with a rifle, and he says, "That's my son. He's such a great shot."
I don't remember that.
Isn't that extraordinary?
He's such a great shot.
He's so 'Cause
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that in a different universe where I got to that idea first, and I'm not sure I would. Oh, would I be pleased with that one?
That is so. Well, that's God putting the pictures on the fridge.
Yeah.
We don't have to unpack all that.
Right,
I understand
yeah.
it's unconditional love's a real tricky one.
Yeah.
Here's a bit I'm working on. I go, I think God loves you just the way you are, and God loves me just the way I am. Isn't that annoying?
Totally.
Doesn't that suck?
Totally, of course, because you worked really hard
Yeah.
to get this love, and it was going to come no matter what you did.
Yeah. I
That's-
say it was so much more exciting when I thought God was like the Jason Bourne guys in the room with all the computers going like, he masturbated again? Deploy! That was such a rush to win over the angry dad God
Yeah.
and penance and be sweet and help
Yeah.
people just so I can
Yeah.
get back on his good side. I was like, but that's a toxic.
That's my oldest brother's biggest complaint about my dad is that my dad was so impressed with everything we did. He said it didn't give him a realistic view of how the world was going to interpret me.
Yeah.
And I think now you're misreading it. The world was going to be that way. He was telling you that there was somebody who was always going to see you
Yeah.
in the best light.
That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
By the way, I pick Leela up. You're going to say I pick Leela up from preschool. It's like fucking Shawshank.
Oh, yeah.
Kids are screaming.
Yeah.
Kids on wet. Why is this kid wet? He's head to toe soaked.
That's so funny.
You know, the kid cutting an apple with a knife. Like, what is this?
How old is she now? 4?
She's going to be 5 in like 11 days. So my thing is she's getting the full buffet. I know some of these kids. They're wild.
Yeah.
In your book, you use duds. I love calling some of the kids duds. Of course, they're not duds. I'm just joking, but it's
No.
Some of these kids are
As
wild.
a kid, I was very critical of the kids of my age. It was just so cruel in my head, though. But
it's in my act.
When
I
you
go,
say-
I'm out here judging. I judge my
Yeah.
daughter's friends. I'm out here judging.
Yeah.
Nobody gets a pass.
Yeah.
It's just a reflexive thing.
Yeah. Did you get to the part where I went to Hebrew school for the first time?
No, I'm an
Okay.
anti-Semite, so I skipped anything.
Oh no,
like
I get that. But I did the same thing the first time I read a prayer for Owen Meany. Anything to do with Christianity, I was like, that's not for me. No, I'm kidding.
Wonderful.
I'm kidding.
You
but
are
I
the
remember
king of
being
yes and.
overwhelmed by the prayer for Owen Meany Christianity because I was like, wow, there is so much more. I knew Catholic and I knew Protestant,
Yeah.
and there were different sects
Oh, no.
of Protestantism within that. And then when I got to college, I realized there were like 90 different Southern
Yeah.
Baptists,
Yeah.
and
We're
so
like
it's-
distilleries. You know what I mean? Like whiskey.
Yes.
We're a mash whiskey.
Wow.
They're a Southern mash
Yeah.
whiskey. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my mother drives me to my first day of Hebrew school. And the thing about Hebrew school is that it comes right after regular school. So these kids who have been cooped up all day get a brief recess between regular school and Hebrew school. And so they're outside of the synagogue and they're running around and they're behaving like kids do during recess, and that they're screaming and laughing and jumping and running, and I'm a little bit overwhelmed because I'm like, I don't know any of these kids, and they're all having fun, and they seem to know each other. And my mother looks at them and obviously doesn't remember ever having been in recess as a kid because she was about 50 at the time. And she said, and I'll never forget this as long as I lived. I knew I don't know how often this happened to you growing up.
You knew.
You knew.
That's a keeper.
I'll never forget this.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why, but I knew this is something. She looked at all the little Jewish kids, and they were 8 or 9, and she said, and with disdain in her voice. I didn't have the word disdain, but I knew that she was revolted by these people. And she said, look at the Jews. They're wild.
God, you've taken my breath away many times during this chat, and it's never...
I didn't know the word self-hating Jew. I didn't...
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, she's put off by just the... Wow. And also she was telling me, you're not to behave like that.
Yeah.
You will be... Wow.
Yeah.
That was ugly.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
I always... Yeah. That brought up a lot.
But that exact same thing was happening in the various versions of that within every religion.
Yeah.
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 No, it's true. The "you're not going to be like that" was such a huge energy for me. In fact, I've said this before, my Jewish friends tended to be a lot more, not always, I'm just talking about my Jewish friends growing up, were closer with their buddy parents.
Oh, interesting.
And I've told this story before, but I was at a dinner, me, my brother.
No, I found that too. And the Jewish parents, other than my own parents, were pretty close with their kids' friends.
Yeah. There was just a different style.
Yeah.
And this kid put his dad in a headlock, lovingly, jokingly. They were playing.
Yeah.
And gave him a noogie. The dad's dying laughing. It's just like a silly, funny moment.
That's adorable.
And my brother and I both remember that my dad just looked at us like, he gave us like, don't you dare.
That's amazing.
Don't you dare face.
That's amazing.
And now, I've tried to do this as a bit. I haven't tried it yet.
My father would say, I'd never allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my compassion is, I'm like, they grew up in a time.
Totally. Yeah.
They had to be
no,
tough.
I get it. But
They couldn't.
Full disclosure, I do a
fuzz
joke
the
about this
line.
different time. So full disclosure. But I always ask when people say about, because my father was from that different time. He was a World War II vet and Greatest Generation. But he never said anything sexist, racist, homophobic, or denigrating any culture. And so I always say this, different time. This was before the famous schism between right and wrong, when they split over creative differences. Abraham Lincoln, your father was older than Abraham Lincoln because he saw through that nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just a different time. It doesn't, during each of these different times, there were groups of people, millions of them, doing the opposite thing. The thing that could have gotten them killed, hiding Jews during the Holocaust, helping black people escape the Southern slave owners.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were witches being burned at the stake, and there was a counter protest to that.
Yeah. Well, there probably were people hiding
with
witches,
pails of water.
Not
to
witches,
put them-
women accused of witches. hiding those sorcerers. I'm very progressive, but I do think they were witches.
The warlocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, your John Proctors.
Don't get me started on Salem. Salem Town, which is now Danvers. That's a fun one.
Interesting.
That's a Gulman. You gotta have that. Nothing of historical import happened in Salem. It all happened in Danvers.
Yeah.
All of it.
And what is now Peabody?
Is it now Peabody?
Yeah,
Yeah, now Peabody.
Yeah, John Proctor, the male. This was Chris Fleming did this great joke that I forget who told. I think it was Josh Gondelman. So Chris Fleming says that he and Josh Gondelman, you know Josh, right? He and Josh Gondelman moved out of Boston, and he said, and people say, well, why did you guys leave Boston so quickly? And he said, do you remember how during the witch hysteria, there were, for some reason, men accused of witchcraft?
Chris Fleming says this.
That's what he said,
Yeah.
and that's why we left Boston so quickly.
Wow. Giles Corey.
Yeah.
Wow.
And John Proctor, who is buried in an extension of the Route 128 area
He
is
is?
John Proctor's grave,
I didn't know
and
that.
so you can like walk to the Barnes and Noble and just walk by his grave.
And he was accused of being a witch?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, it was anybody that made a contract with the devil.
Or had more than 2 cats, I heard. No.
Or was a landowning woman. Yeah, basically.
Right.
A
Yeah,
single
yeah, yeah.
landowning
Oh,
woman.
yeah,
that
yeah,
was,
yeah.
It's all
It was-
the same stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's end on a lighter note.
Okay.
It could be in the book. It doesn't have to be. Can you tell me a time in your life, you've had to answer this a couple times, that you laughed really, 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 really hard? Maybe to the point of tears. Maybe you're falling over. Maybe somebody farted. Maybe somebody fell. Maybe you're in church or temple or something where you're not supposed to laugh. Anything come to mind?
Oh my gosh. I had this friend named Billy Marmion.
Mamian?
Yeah. He's now known as Will Marmion, but back then he was Billy Marmion. Or as my mother still calls him, Billy Mamia. I don't know if no New England parents could ever get their kids' friends' names right, but they would just, whatever was closest to a name they grew up with, that became the name of the kid. And this is off the dome. Don't think I prepared this bit, but it sounds like a bit, right?
Sounds like a bit.
Yeah. Anyhow, Billy Marmion was the funniest kid I knew, and I knew Gary Gulman, and
It's very close with Gary
yeah. I was Gary Goldman at the time, and Billy Marmion and I were sitting outside the Warren 5-cent savings bank, and I put this story in the book. This is a little tease, I guess. And he said my mother was in the Warren 5-cent savings bank for so long. And one thing he said that I thought was just really smart, but also funny. He said, "They only allow you to deposit 5 cents in there, and somebody in there must have a quarter, and so that's what's taking so long, because they have to make change for the quarter, because you're only allowed to bring in 5 cents to this bank." And then, okay, so that's a brilliant joke. Then a woman walks by, and I just want to, this is the beauty of the child mind, right? That it goes from high status to low status and everything in between in terms of comedy. So there's shit jokes, there's fart jokes, and then there's something as sharp as the 5 cent thing. And he also said that the name of the bank owner was the Warren 5 cents Bank. He said the bank owner was called Warren. That Warren, they had to call Warren to see if it was okay. I mean, this is just a genius comedic mind. He's a lawyer now, which makes sense because he's really sharp, right? So anyhow, he then pivots to this. A woman walks by with just a run-of-the-mill, mangy-looking ski hat because it was really cold out. And he rolled down the window and he said, "Nice hat, lady. Did your dog make it?" And I immediately pictured a dog knitting with glasses and also a knit cap on the dog because they had knit that before and they're knitting with glasses and it was a dog. And as much as I love the 5 cents because I love a good sharply worded joke, that dog image, then I was crying. Did your dog make it? He was like, he went from Stephen Wright to insult comic like that. And it made, to this day, I mean, oh my word.
Did your dog make it?
Did your dog make it? It was also a little bit of a Far Side, right? A Gary Larson type thing where dogs knit. It had everything. It had everything. A dog being crafty.
Ship it.
Arts and crafts.
Ship it. Which we called, going back to your point, farts and craps. Because
wow.
No respect for the arts.
Oh, that drove me nuts that they thought they were so smart by calling the arts and crafts at camp farts and craps.
You're also the only person I've been obsessed with. Thank you for coming to our ool. Notice there's no P in it. Because that was like, a joke.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
A really strong joke.
What about this one? I had a bit about this. It is a strong joke. Ever see this one? I don't swim in your toilet, so please don't pee in my pool. You ever see that one?
Oh, I love that one.
In my open mic days, I go,
I love that one.
You want to swim in my toilet?
Here's the unsaid idea that makes the deconstruction of that so good, which is that it's only my decency, ethics, and integrity that keeps me from swimming in your toilet.
I want to.
A lot of people are swimming in your toilet, whether you know it or not. There's a lot of people swimming in your toilet, but I was raised right. I'm not sleeping in your toilet.
So return the favor.
Yeah, return the favor by not peeing in my pool.
I'm not
'Cause
Hitler.
They are equivalents.
That is fantastic.
Oh, man. That's so good.
All right, buddy. The book is called
Misfit.
It's a
Misfit, growing up awkward in the 80s.
and it's an oral history of the Misfits. Would you, Gary, your third effortless return episode, would you say keep it crispy, kid? And thank you.
Oh,
What a joy.
I've been looking forward to this for since we put it in the
I texted
calendar.
you last night because I was
Yeah.
like, what if he doesn't want to do
Are
it?
you fucking kidding
I
me?
thought maybe you were like
This is-
lukewarm on it.
No, this is espresso. This is re-energizing.
Yeah.
Keep it crispy, y'all.
You made it